any audience growth, awareness, just like general audience excitement, really at this point is coming from the shorts. I'm always like, I'm adapt, but like even to the point of like things are going to adapt to me like 10 years later, I'm like, I knew this was going to be like this. How you're going to create that asset to begin with so it can be, split up well. It's like if you're making a pizza, right? Like we know we're making this pizza as a whole so it can be cut up and be given to people in slices.
Hello, I'm Dustin, PolyInnovator. Today on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight, I'm having Marielou Mandl, who is a vlogger, video creator, podcast host, producer, and tech enthusiast on the show. Thank you for being here.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. This is a show where I get together with modern content creators and talk about their journey. So I always like to start off with is what got you started as a content creator?
I have been a content creator before being a content creator was a thing. I have been making videos from as early as I could have a camera in my hand. So I would say the start would have been in middle school when I was the host of the morning announcements. And it was because I was like volunteering at the library and I saw like the AV club were like filming the thing. And I was like, can I be part of the thing? And this is like pre-internet, you guys. Okay. Like I remember in middle school is when somebody was like, have you heard of this instant messenger? And I was like, what is that? It sounds amazing. Because I've always been like, just whatever the new tech is, I'm always very into it. But that would have been the beginning of it because I took my job very seriously. Letting the people know what was for lunch and who won the football game was a very big job. I took very seriously. So I would say that would be the beginning. And then in high school, I like asked to get like a camcorder, and anytime there was a report or a presentation, I was definitely that kid who was like, but can I turn in a video?
Yeah.
Is it okay if it's a video? Can it be a video? Like, so I feel like if I was a kid now and I had the access to the tools I have now, like I would be insufferable. But, even my adult friends now know, like she's always filming and I have always been like that. So I would say a very long time. But as far as creating on the internet, I moved to LA in like 2007 to be an actress because I was doing theater in Florida where I was at previously. I was a theater major doing like local commercial stuff, local TV film industry stuff. So moved to LA to do that. And I couldn't get booked to save my life because I didn't fit whatever stereotype needed to be fit at the time. But I was like, but I know I want to do this. So I just started learning how to put myself on camera and trying to collaborate with people. And I was like, okay, so I'm on camera talent. I know how to speak in front of people. I know how to present. I know how to act. I can produce. I can do all this stuff, but I didn't know how to film and edit. So I try to collaborate with people that work to varying degrees. People are not reliable. So I just learned how to do it all by myself. And then here we are. Because you're not going to stop me. That's the one thing about me. It's like, I'm going to figure it out. So I will work with you or I will work with myself, but just know the project is happening.
She won't tear you down, but she'll surely pass you.
Yeah, I will be like, you coming? You're not coming? Yeah. Okay, bye.
So I can definitely resonate with the whole, like, I want to do that kind of thing where you see that happening. Like that happened with interviews where I'd see like Gary Vee or Lewis Howes doing interviews. Like, I want to do that. And then keeping up with the tech is kind of why this whole channel came to be in the first place. Not just hardware tech, but even just like software for the most part. So I definitely resonate with you on that. Is there anything that has come out recently that you're super excited about?
Oh my gosh. Like, so Dustin and I were just at NAB a couple weeks ago. And seriously, there's no like particular thing, but more the essence of the industry as a whole is really, really being catered to people to be able to just start. I feel like for years there was like, I just wish there was something I could just whip out of my pocket to start filming with, right? And now everybody does have that. We didn't have that before. I wish that there was just a microphone I could plug straight into the phone and it would just work. It used to not be like that. It used to be like you had to get 6 different dongles and hope for the best and like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But now any price point you want, aesthetic you want, any style you want, you can get something simple to work right away. And I'm really grateful for that shift in the industry, because it's something that, like, for a long time, I'm like, if any of these companies would have talked to me like 15 years ago, I'd be like, this is what you need to make now to get ahead. Of course, they don't listen, but now here we are, and that's fine. Again, I'll keep going.
Yeah. No, it's what the microphone thing really shot me in the curve, because I've been having so many issues with microphones with pixels over the years. Microphones just do not want to work with it at all. And I know you're probably more of an Apple girly, I think, right? Yeah. So a lot more compatibility in that front, I feel like.
Yeah, but like, it hadn't been for a while because of this, like the lightning connector or whatever the one before. So that was always, it was like, what phone do you have so we can see what works? And now most phones are USB-C, so it's a little bit easier to recommend, but it's not like 100%, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer.
Yeah. Like you said, we were at NAB, and I feel like the tech this year was better than last year too. And there was a lot more videographers and video creators really kind of digging into the tech, I feel like, this year. I mean, maybe I just didn't notice last year, but I felt like there was more this year. Like, I remember you talking to somebody, the director, videographer guy, where he's talking about the selfie stick that can drop down and it comes to a tripod as soon as it hits the ground.
Yeah, really, like, useful, innovative, thoughtful designs for solo creators. Now, this was only my second NAB that I'd ever been to, because previously I knew it was like for the filmmakers, right? And like, there is like a version of me that considers myself a filmmaker, but I also consider myself sometimes the not enemy of, but like an opposite, right? Like that there's a certain kind of essence that the filmmakers have, and then versus like me as a solo creator, I'll just use what I can, the best that I can, in ways that are not necessarily the way it's prescribed. And if it works, it works. And it doesn't matter, because the finished product is good, which would be a point of argument for years with me versus filmmakers is, well, you're not supposed to do it that way. And I was like, well, what matter does it? Like, I finished the project and you didn't.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know. We want to keep arguing about that? So, but I hadn't gone to NAB because of that. I knew it was like more catered to those guys. So last year I did notice it was like that, but it was kind of like on the bridge. But then this year I noticed so much was directed towards creators and people who create solo, and products for people who create solo in smaller, more efficient things. Also, the stuff for the big productions, I love to see it. It's so much fun. But seeing the transition of exactly what you saw, like seeing something that somebody can use by themselves quickly on the run, to be portable, to be lightweight, to be efficient, and to hopefully just work, is like, oh, it's so nice. I love seeing where this is going to go, because it's only just going to keep getting better.
I want to touch on that a little bit more too, because you mentioned like the filmmakers, but in my head, when I hear NAB, I think of like the broadcasters last year. And like you said, there's this antagonistic between the filmmakers and broadcasters, I guess you could say the professional world, versus like the creator worlds, which are becoming more professional. The broadcasters are using more content and internet sources, and there's that merging happens. And since you're in a great place to talk about it, I thought I'd see what you thought. Yeah,
there is from being here, like in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles, and having done my best to try to get into what is like traditional media, and knowing from experience over the past like almost 20 years here in this city, but 20 plus in various other cities, of trying to be in traditional media, that they are kind of rigid, and there is this is how we do it. But being like, and I'm sure, like, I feel like you're the same kind of way, where like there's a little bit more like forward vision. We have like a little more like visionary runway of like where things are gonna go, and it's adapt or die. I'm sorry, it's adapt or die. And I'm always like, I'm adapt, but like even to the point of like things are going to adapt to me like 10 years later, I'm like, I knew this was going to be like this. Sometimes a little too far ahead to like my own detriment, because it's like the world's not ready.
We're like too many years ahead in our head.
Yes, right? And that's interesting when we get to go to events like that and kind of see the bridge. Because that's why I think like when we like get excited talking to each other, because like I feel like we're equally in the future of like where things could go, like visionary wise. We see where the future of broadcasting and traditional media is now based on what we see at NAB. We know like you know, like we could tell it's going in the way of the creators.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who are stuck are going to be left behind, but they're also scrambling in the way of kind of passing judgment and trying to pass shame, right? Of like, but you're doing it wrong. And it's like, am I?
So one thing I wanted to jump in on there is that, like, you haven't been to podcast movement, have you?
No, I haven't.
So I would definitely think you would enjoy it quite a bit. It's the podcasting, one of the big podcasting conferences in the country. There's also Podfest, but it's a little bit different. Podcast Movement last year was talking about how podcasting is becoming one of the more big mediums out there, specifically video podcasts. And obviously you have a lot of experience with that too. And it's like, the interesting thing was, I don't like getting political at all on any of my shows, but the process of the last election, a lot of the candidates, you know, were going on podcasts. Podcasting and YouTube has become the new media. And that was the point I wanted to drive home there. It's like, it's interesting to think about.
Right. Like political or not, right? Like you have to notice that this is where things are going, right? When you notice that the people who are running for the top position in our country, maybe the world, depending on how you look at it, are trying to get onto what used to be novelty podcasts.
Yeah.
It used to be like very niche, like, you happen to listen to that? Like, oh, sure. But it's like, this is more important than Good Morning America, right? It's more important than getting on 60 Minutes. It is to get onto whatever the top podcasts are. And like, I've been doing podcasts since 2015, about then. And I was just like, at first hired as a host. And so we had an engineer and we had like a whole studio and like somebody else is running all the buttons to where it is now, where like you really can just do it all by yourself. It's nice to have a studio. Let me tell you, it is nice when somebody else pushes the buttons.
Yeah.
But
I look forward to that day.
Yes, it'll get there, but it's not quite there yet for people who don't have like a big media conglomerate behind them. But that does make it accessible to where we can. Anybody can. And that, I think that really is what excites me, is that if you do have something to say, you can do it. The only thing that is going to get in between you and making it happen is the you part.
And really, like, that is the executable factor, where it's like how much you execute is the key thing. So you've done a lot of video and audio. I couldn't find much like written content. Did you ever do much when it comes to like Substack or writing or newsletters?
No, that has been something that I'm trying to get into. I did just start a Substack because I was hearing that like video is starting to become a thing over there. I've always been video first. Like I've always been video first. And writing has been, for me, secondary as a SEO tool, not really ever my primary. And it's always like, even writing descriptions was like, ugh, I hate it. I don't want to do it. So I'm like a big proponent of, or big champion for AI tools, where I like will put my transcript in and I'm like, I don't know what it is. I will happily always write and give credit to ChatGPT. And I was like, written by ChatGPT. I'm like, I'm not even going to double check this, because what I need is for it to tell the other robots who to get to this video.
Right. It's interesting because you kind of answered my next question, was going to be like, out of the 3 pillar types, video, audio, written, what do you like? I always have a hard time with that too, because I think a lot of people, they'll see you as one thing and they won't necessarily know you as something else. Like at the podcasting conference, everyone sees each other as podcasters. But for me, it's like blogger, YouTuber, then podcaster. For you, it's video, podcaster. Now you're getting into written. And it's just, that's why I love that question, because it's really interesting mindset wise.
Yeah, I didn't know that you were written first. That's interesting.
I find that like writing helps me get through my ideas better, but I also really love video. So it's pretty close seconds, but I've done writing for a lot longer. And that's why I like talking about this, because it's changes now your view of me, and I can maybe help you with your Substack or something like that. But if you're doing video first too, that's a whole nother thing. And just being on Substack, I think, is also great because it's that social network on there as well.
I'm really excited about that as a emerging platform, even though it's been around for a while. But the expansion that I've seen over the past couple of months, I really think it is going to be the thinking person's internet.
Yeah.
Right? It's less...
I've already seen a lot of people from Twitter go over.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm just really excited about it. I got on there and I was like, oh, I do like this. And like written content, I like consuming written content. And so what I'm doing right now with the Substack that I started, and I was excited because you could do multiple publications.
Yeah.
So I have one that is the creator edit, which is going to be a like kind of recap of creator tools and the creator world driven towards creators. But I'm also trying to create more content that's just towards women in general, opinion pieces, culture, things like that. So that's my secondary publication that is called She Has Thoughts, which right now I'm just kind of using as a brain dump journal. So I did put that behind a paywall, but if anybody just wants to know what I'm brain dumping, like my thoughts on the world, you can subscribe to that. And from that, I know that is going to lead into the podcast, but I'm trying to get into this habit of getting these thoughts out. And that's where I think the written for me has become a really excellent and exciting tool, because it is shaking me out of my normal. If I sit in front of a camera, like I very easily will talk about creator tools and text, like, and I could talk about anything, but because for years it's always been focused to creators, I'm having to just get my mind working in this different way.
And that's one reason why I love doing multiple niches. I would love to talk to you about that a little bit, considering you are polymathic yourself too. You do many different things. It's interesting being a multi-niche creator, and this multidisciplinary personal branding is something I've been trying to explore more with people who kind of embody it already. I actually, I use Ghost for my newsletters. It's a different like alternative to WordPress and Substack. And you could have multiple newsletters on one site. And I think that helps consolidate things. So that way you could have just the Marielou site and then have multiple tags for different things. And I have a thing called the Fireside Codex, which is literally what you're talking about there, where it's just like mind dumping, like here's my journal kind of thing that's public or whatever.
Yeah, I think that it is the way we're going to go, because I understand niche in the sense of marketing is important, because you need to get things in front of the right people. But niche, I've just seen it over and over and over not compute with human creatives. And then I see it break people down, because they're like, but I have to pick something, so they pick nothing.
Yeah.
And I just, it breaks my heart for people, because it's like, well, you need to start doing it if you want to do it, because it's going to haunt you forever. Like, I will tell you from experience, like the more you put it off, the more it's going to haunt you. So you might as well just do it. And the idea of platforms like you're explaining how Ghost is, which I hadn't heard of. I'd love to know more about that. But like with Substack, even with like, any of them, where you can make multiple accounts, or what I prefer, like the multiple publications within one account, because we are multidimensional human beings. It just is.
And even if like you're a specialist, you'll probably have a hobby and stuff like that. And this is what my other show is about, is being multidisciplinary. But it's interesting to think about when it comes to niching, like you're saying, YouTube really does kind of have to have a niche, especially when you first start out. But you see this all the time, especially with like gamers, where they'll choose one game and eventually either get bored of it or their audience grows stale. And so they switch, they start dividing into different games and seeing which one sticks next. They'll pick one after that and switch to that one. So the niche kind of becomes a new niche. With SEO and kind of Google search, that's not really being the same as it used to be, especially considering how Google search has changed quite a bit on that actual search page. That's a whole nother topic to get into there. So a lot of people said SEO is dying. And with AI and ChatGPT, it's more about the quality of the content than it is the actual like SEO front of it. So as long as you make good content, you have multiple niches, that's what matters.
Right. And I like that you have a better chance on a content per content basis versus an entire presence, right? So if you happen to make that one video that's about something else, it might still get in front of the right people.
Yeah.
Because the way things are being like For You page forward versus SEO forward.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like a kind of a different approach. And I love it.
Well, I've been on TikTok since it was Musical.ly, so the whole For You thing has been embedded in me for the last better half of a decade. We've been talking about all these different tools, so I want to skip to that question there. What tools do you use for creation and repurposing? So this is like catnip for me. So
yes, my number one software is Ecamm. That is my video production software that is open on my computer at any given moment. It's how I do calls. It's how I do recordings, vertical, landscape. It's how I do live streams. It's how I do interviews. It is my full production studio, and it had changed. It's like I can very, very confidently say it is the thing that changed everything, because I was filming and recording and like doing the audio and trying to focus and trying to edit and like all of the different pieces that I could do, and I could do them by myself, but it just was, there was a lot of friction in making that happen as quickly as my brain could work, because my brain is already like 5 ideas from now. But if I don't get out the one right now, we're never going to get to the 5th one, right? So with Ecamm, because I can see my camera connected to my computer, so I can see my camera, I have my audio levels, I can see that those are going, I know exactly what the framing is, I know I'm in focus, all of it. So that's my number one. And it's a Mac only program. There's other like live streaming production softwares you can use if you're not on Mac, but if you happen to be on Mac, like it's my favorite, right? It's my favorite. And for repurposing, I am using Opus Clips. I think that they have come a really, really long way from just like over a couple of years, like maybe what, 2 or 3 years, like not even that long. But now with the ability to auto publish, like it clips the long form and you can auto publish and schedule to multiple platforms. I'm like, oh, you're never going to stop seeing my face now. Because I used to hate to, like, I would have to cut it up and then you have to figure out how to schedule it from here to here to there. And I'm like, forget it. They don't need to see it. Is where I'm like, they don't need it.
Don't get me started on the whole scheduling thing, because that,
we have to live a life.
Yeah.
And I was using Repurpose, which I thought was a good tool. I just wasn't utilizing it the way, because I had to get the content into it. Yeah. I think that's where it was one too many steps between me and making it happen. So I'm very much about like, where's the points of resistance? If there's resistance, if it's not like crucial, I'm not going to do it, because there's I'd rather just get to making more videos.
This is something oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, like you said, multiple steps, like you and I think a lot of the same way, whereas like a lot of my issues when it came to even social media management tools to schedule the clips, or even using tools like Repurpose.io or Chopcast and Recast Studio, those are all tools that I had played with before Opus came out. It would take like a dozen steps to get from point A to point B, and even still, it would only find maybe a dozen clips, and you get an 80% usability rate, so you can only get like 8 or 9 clips. And then when Opus came out, it dropped it down to like 3 steps, and you would get like 30 clips, and you have about 23 of them that are usable. Now it's more like 25, which is nice. And it's just one of those things where it made it so much simpler. And I actually, same for social media management tools too. It's like, you have like 10 steps to get the post out. Like, stop making me click so much. Yes.
And then especially like I said, writing's not the exciting part for me, with AI built in for making captions. And then it just gives me a base level of what to start with. And then I can make my adjustments. It's just like starting from the blank, like cursor of like, what is the caption? And even sometimes like, you'll know when a caption's written by me, where I'm like, robots, please send this to, like, I just write a letter to the robots. If I'm writing the caption.
It's funny you mentioned like the caption, or even just like the description for a video. As a writer, I actually hate doing the meta description like that. So it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because I actually use ChatGPT for my meta description for my blog posts. Like I'll write the blog post like all by myself, but I hate doing that little SEO description or TLDR. And same thing goes for like captions. I use Newlink for my social media management tools, and they have an AI captions feature for their social media posts, so it can write it for you. It's like, thank you.
Oh, it's just brilliant, because it's like the things that I just wouldn't have done at all. I'd rather have something, even if it's like through another tool, versus it just not be there at all. But that was the alternative, was like, I just would post things without a caption, because I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you like it or you don't.
Instagram's kind of one of those places too, where it's like the caption matters, but not that much, and hashtags don't matter at all anymore. So as long as you just post a video, that's what really kind of matters.
Right, because it's going to transcript it, so it's going to have information to get it to where it needs to go.
It's interesting that you have been so accepting of automation, because something I've heard from a lot of creators is that they actually don't want to over automate too much. And I've also seen completely automated channels before, and I'm like, that's too much. So there's like that balance, but you and I have adopted a lot of automation. So what does content repurposing mean to you in that front then?
It's utilizing the asset that I already have built, right? The longer form video, in the most efficient way possible. So the way I format longer form videos is with this in mind, that it will be reformatted. So when I make a piece of content that's longer form, I structure it, and I've always like structured my videos. It's the way I structure my videos is how I learned how to write essays probably in middle school, right? Where it's introduction, point A, point B, point C, and conclusion. That is the basic framework for short form, long form, all of it. And in making my videos that way, when I put something into a tool to clip, it does a really good job of usually picking out the way I've already signaled to it to do. So when I was manually cutting this, I knew it because I like, I know my format. So I'm like, I know this is video number 1, video number 2, video 3, 4. Now, with how sophisticated the things have gotten, I know that it can usually pick out about what I was trying to say. And I think that's what, for me, repurposing is the utilizing the asset, but then deciding how you're going to create that asset to begin with so it can be, split up well. It's like if you're making a pizza, right? Like we know we're making this pizza as a whole so it can be cut up and be given to people in slices. So somebody can get the whole pizza, but then maybe you just want a slice.
But if you have like all the pepperoni on one side, then the other slices are going to be left out. So you got to make sure you even it out.
Yes. And like sprinkle a little bit of everything,
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of something that Harris Heller, who is a YouTuber about streamers and Twitch and whatnot, he talked about how when you have your live streams, think of like 3 topics you want to plan out and basically make your YouTube videos within the live stream. So like planning it out ahead of time, like you're saying.
Yeah, I used to do that. Like I would do there's a footage of this in somewhere that was a video inside of a video inside of a video was my personal challenge, right? So it was the live stream, which was a 2-hour live stream. Within that live stream was a tutorial of how to make a video. So there was whatever the video was, then the tutorial of how to make that video, which happened during the live stream. And I did that for a little bit, and my audience just like ate it up because they're like, wow, like look at how efficient she is. And I was like, just because I'm crazy pants and by myself, and I just wanted to see how well it could be done. But it did well.
Yeah. If you're crazy though, what's the craziest thing you've done experimental wise to create more content? Because it's always about like more. So what's kind of like driving you for that? What'd you do?
Oh my God. I just like, I have a lot of cameras. I love cameras. And it's always very like one leading into the other. So a joke that I have with my community is like, why does she need another camera? She's like, because I need to film myself, filming myself. And then I always get to it. I'm like, dang, I need another one to show
top down
all these levels. Like why? Like all of these things, right? So it's like, so right here we have like the camera facing me. I could at this point have like another camera filming me as like a behind the scenes. And then there could be another camera that's filming how I do the behind the scenes for the interview. Like, why? I don't know, because I can, and like I could put the meta glasses on and be filming,
I was wondering if you were going to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, I usually do. They're packed away somewhere. I don't know where I put them since I unpacked from NAB. They're in a bag somewhere, but I need to find them. They're one of the few tools that I was like, I wish it had like a Find My, like kind of like it would beep so you could locate it. I hope they built that in eventually. I know it's here because I know it made it home, but it's not here right now. But there's cameras everywhere.
I remember though at NAB you were recording what was it, Brandon Washington talking to somebody, interviewing him, and then I recorded you, and then someone else was about to record me right behind before I stopped. Record.
Like yes.
Back, yeah.
It's so
I thought it was
fun.
really meta.
Yeah, and it's an exciting time for those of us that like to capture, right? Because it is an exciting, like other people just don't like it, and then I always try to explain to them because they'll meet me and they're like, oh, I wish I could. And I was like, but you don't have to. Like if you don't like it, it's fine. Because there's things that I go to, you will never see me record something like I'm going to go see Beyonce soon. I love seeing, like, I love her. It's my favorite. I'm so excited for this concert. I paid so much money for these stupid tickets, but I'm excited to go. I probably won't film anything. Like I might take a picture with some friends, but like as far as like the actual concert, you might not see any content of me like posting of the concert because I know there's a stadium of other people who are filming. So I don't need to film something there. I can just be there. But now with like the Meta glasses, it might be different because I just like just push the button. So, but the last time I went, like people like didn't even know that I went to that, and they're like, "Why didn't you post about it?" I was like, "Because I didn't want to. Because I just wanted to enjoy it. I don't post about everything." I think that's also something that's a misconception as creators, is that we are recording and posting every single thing that we do, and I don't think that. I mean, it's not the case for me because I don't have to. I do a lot. I film a lot, but I also don't film a lot of things.
I think I tried to do it more at like conferences, but I need to do it probably a little bit more in real life because I'm not like you where I'm doing it as much as you. So I need to do it a little bit more, but I feel like I need to get to the point where I'm like you or I don't need to do it as much.
Yes, I definitely like, I guess I crossed over to that level where I did it so much that I'm like, oh, I actually don't need to do that every day. But as creators, right, it's just like getting our face in front of like that's just marketing strategy, is getting your face in front of as many eyes regularly as possible so they know who you are. When I'm talking with some new people who are wanting to start podcasts, and they're like, oh, and then I got to do this and that, and I was like, yeah, but truly, you make a couple episodes of the podcast, see if you even like that, chop those up, get those out everywhere, because you can have not a single person watch your podcast, but tons of people saw your short that you're on a podcast. So now they know you're a podcaster. So then that's kind of a piece of information about you that you can leverage, because now you're a podcast host, even if nobody ever saw, like if the podcast never saw the light of day. Yeah. Right. It's all positioning.
And so those clips live on their own too.
Mm-hmm. Like the Diary of a CEO. Like I know that show exists. I have never watched a whole episode of that, but I know that show because it comes up all the time. And there's almost like the shareable clips are more valuable than the episodes themselves.
Yeah. That's like the golden nuggets you get when watching in the first place. There's a question, we only have a few more questions left anyways, but there's one question I added that you're the first person I'm asking, because on this channel I've talked about the triangle of like, written audio and video. The other triangle is like live, short, and long form content. Which one of those do you prefer when it comes to making? So you've made all three.
I make all three pretty regularly. I don't know if there's a favorite because they all kind of feed into each other, but I will say strategically, over the next couple months, I am going to lean heavy to shorts from looking at my data, because the regular landscape live streams don't really get any new eyes. That's for like my subscribers. So I love to do it. That's our time to hang out. A vertical live stream on YouTube will get more new people, but then it gets wild. Like, cause you're just like out there in the Wild West, anybody can stumble in. So it's a different experience that like I'm prepared for because I've been doing this a long time, but I don't think everybody's ready to get the random things, especially as a woman, like just the stuff that will come up from a random person stumbling onto your live stream. It's wild. Like I know how to ignore a comment, but not everybody's ready for that. And the longer form, which I consider 3 to 8 minutes, I don't really like make 20 to 40 minute videos. Like if it's at that long, I'm just going to make it a live stream. Those are good for one question, one answer things, right? But it's a little bit longer than a short. I need to show something. So having more visual space, being landscape, is useful. But any audience growth, awareness, just like general audience excitement, really at this point is coming from the shorts, because they're getting little nuggets. So I know that strategically I'm leaning more into shorts specifically for that mission, because I do have other places where I'm making videos of different lengths. So if we're talking YouTube, that's what's going to be a focus.
I think it's great. I mean, we talked about the whole futurist mindset that we have. One thing I wanted to tell you too, because we both love Opus. I've been with them for a long time. I had all those interviews that I finally was able to drop into a tool, and I got clips back. By the time I dropped my around 200 interviews that I've done, I got 3,500 clips to post. Which then again, like we talked about earlier, how do you get that out there? I started doing it. Well, this was before even Opus had their scheduler, let alone like being able to handle the bulk. And so I posted 10 a day for like a year across YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, and Pinterest. and especially on YouTube, but even across the other socials. But with not counting YouTube, I got 365,000 views across all my different socials, and then YouTube has like 180 something like that thousand, and it's like that was last year. Think about this year, and you're the first person to say something about vertical live streaming that I've seen, because I've been telling people about it. I've been screaming at the top of the pillar because I keep seeing the gamers, the Pokemon YouTubers, they're doing that. They were doing the horizontal and the vertical, and I'm like, podcasters are going to do this here in a minute here too. Like I saw the future like you were talking about there. So now that you're talking about it makes me really excited. I think more and more people are going to do it.
Yeah, and it's very accessible, and I don't think like people don't realize how accessible it is. Like you could just do it from the phone if you wanted. Right in the YouTube app. There are like some criteria. I forget how many subscribers it is in order to get that unlocked for you. But you can do it from an encoder too if you're the kind of person that wants a multicam situation. So when I was doing vertical live streams, and like people were just like minds blown because I'm switching cameras in a vertical live stream and even having multiple shots. Like I was stacking like my studio shot, my face shot, and my overhead shot were like stacked, one on top of each other, and people are like, what am I looking at? Like there's a lot of things that you can do to catch eyeballs with the tools that are out there, and it's fun. Like, if you let it be a video game for you, like all of it's a game for me. I'm like, I got all these pieces, it's a puzzle, what can I make happen? Where I do think a lot of people are just like, oh, it's so much, and it's like, only if you make it so much. Like start smaller and just add one thing at a time. I think it's also because they try to go 0 to 60 as opposed to like 1, 2, 3.
Well, we always talk about, like, Roberto Blake says this a lot too, and I think Nick Nimmin, like, do 100 reps first, and then you know what you're doing a little bit more. Not much, but even still. And people don't realize that, like, live, short, and long, the 100 reps reset when you switch between those, and so you have to get 100 reps in all of those. Something you mentioned too, like different cameras. I actually bought the Logitech Stream Cam because it can rotate, and it has an accelerometer built into it. So when you rotate at 90 degrees, it can be vertical, and the software reacts to it a lot better than just rotating a regular camera and having to like manually go in there and rotate it. So like,
Yeah, I think that's really, so again, one of those things that's like years ago, I was like, these cameras need to be able to just do vertical. And even with Ecamm, when I started using Ecamm in 2020, I discovered it when, like a lot of production needed to change. I was doing an interview series for my like job that I was at the time. And I needed to be able to like produce this interview series at home. Usually I was like going to people to go film at their homes, right? But we had to do this digitally. So I started using Ecamm, and then like vertical videos, like I already knew were going to be a big deal. They already were kind of out a little bit, like stories, Snapchat, like that kind of stuff was out. Early TikTok, things like that. And like with Ecamm, I remember asking them, I was like, I need to be able to rotate the camera, like, because I can rotate it physically, but I need to rotate the feed. And they were like, who would need that? And I was like, I'm telling you, just do it. Please. Like, if you can just put it in, I promise you it's going to be worthwhile. And now people use it, right? Same with people wanting to do both landscape and vertical. They added in a vertical safe zone. So it's like an invisible overlay that you just see on the production side that gives you the lines of like what is safe in vertical, but you're still in you have your full frame video as an option as well. Being flexible like that, like any tech company out there, like, I don't know, just call me. I'll tell you what you need. Like I can tell you, because it'll always come up in a couple of years and you're like, man, we could have been the first on the market if we talked to the right people.
I think the first to make a vertical canvas, even before Ecamm, was Atom, which was a plugin for OBS. And then Stream Elements came out with one late last year, and finally Meld Studio just came out with one as well. Streamlabs, I guess, also had one a hot minute ago, but Streamlabs is kind of iffy, depending. Yeah. But like,
well, even early Opus had like a live stream platform. That's how I first discovered them, and it was like the emojis would fall, and I was like, "Oh, this is delightful." And then
I wish they kept it, to be honest.
Me too. I really liked it. I thought it was a good time.
So we've talked about different shows. You talked about the interviews you did. It's really interesting you had to switch from live to remote. I really like that. I don't know if we have time to talk about that today, but maybe next time. Why did you and Doc Rock create that Creators Unstuck podcast? Because I'm curious about that.
So we were at NAB last year. he was like, you should come to this thing. And I was like, okay, so sure, we'll go. And we had just known each other from like being colleagues within like similar circles, but like we didn't like really ever like really talk that much. So like when we were at NAB last year, we're like in the rental car, like coming to and from wherever, just doing the things. And we realized like we both have similar passionate feelings about creators and what people get stuck on and what people complain about and what success looks like and all of these things, like really passionate, strong opinions, but we approach them a little bit differently. It's like a little bit good cop, bad cop. But then we also, as we've like done the show now for a year, I feel like it's now even more balanced than it was to begin with. So with Doc, he's someone who I'm like, I respect what he's got to say. He obviously knows what he's doing, but I don't think the way he's explaining it is making sense to these people because they don't know these words, right? So if we're talking about audio, right? And he's like an audio guy and he'd be like, you got to adjust the frequencies or the equalizer. And people are like, what is that? And he's like, it's an equalizer. It's a frequency. I was like, but if they've never heard these words, it does not compute. If you have never heard depth of field, you have no concept of what that is. So I'm kind of the translator because I come from this world of like, I know production stuff, right? But I also know regular people, creators, and how to translate across these borders. So that was kind of the initial inception of Creators Unstuck. Now, how many times are you out with somebody and you're like, we should have a podcast, right? Yeah. And like, does it happen? Usually not. But we had enough similar thinking and gusto and being the kind of people that's like, well, I don't know, if you're not going to do it, I'm just going to do it. And it just matched up. And then we did it. We built it live in front of on his live streams. When we film it, it's during his live streams. People see us collaborate. We have a shared notion where we go through the planning, we go through the idea. We built a chat bot to help us like figure out hooks and whatnot, all of those things. We plug it in, we record the episode live, and then it gets processed and uploaded, fully later. But it's just been a really fun project to be able to share the things that we know and then also be able to kind of bounce off of somebody else who sees similarly but maybe communicates in a different way.
Yeah. Have you had many guests on there at all, or just you guys?
It has been mostly us. We have had some accidental guests because there's like a backstage area, like we'll pull people in through Zoom so they can we see their cameras, but they're not in the recording unless that one's recorded from Doc's side. He pulls them in. So not any official guests yet, but it's because there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah. I was just curious because I wanted to see more from you guys from that because I think the last episode was December 2024 or something like that.
Oh no, we were recording it like almost every week, but I see why he might not have had the full uploads up, but we are recording them pretty much weekly. Okay. So come on Tuesdays.
I think I was looking at the Spotify too is what I was looking at.
So, it's possible. Like that's then out of my hands. I don't know what happens there, but I will check on that. Thank you for letting me know.
I love Spotify as a platform as well. So I always kind of like try to keep the links on there because I think it's the best podcasting place overall. But moving on here, especially since we talked about NAB a lot, I know that there's a lot of cool stuff happening there. And, you and I were just chatting one day on the Opus couch, and there's a lot of great moments that happen. Can you share one of your favorite moments that's happened to you as a content creator?
Like a content creator in general, or
in general, your whole time. In
general,
yeah.
Okay, yes, okay. One of my favorites is not even as me, like as a personality, but like as a creator, like as somebody who films things. I was hired to film a live event, like a kids event in Oklahoma at a middle school. So it's like a show that was happening. It was like just production job. I'm just filming a recap. I go and I'm setting up the cameras and the microphones. I'm doing multiple cameras. I'm like just running around doing all these things, just solo production crew to capture this event. And these little girls, middle school girls, come up to me and they're like, "Are you the one that's filming?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." And they're like, "I didn't know girls could do that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we can." And I went to the bathroom and I cried. because I was like, wow, they'd never seen that. It was never an option. And that's really what locked me in, where I was like, I have to do this, and I have to do it publicly where it can be seen and where it can be understood that it is an option, right? It is good for women to be excited about being in media and using the tech and pushing the buttons. You don't have to be just talent, right? Like you can be the talent, and you can be the filmographer, and you can be the editor. All of it is fun, and you can pick and choose what you want, but it is an option. And that, I think, like, that's got to be my number one moment as a creator. Yeah.
I think you're definitely a great inspiration for younger women as well, like especially the kids growing up and seeing like a fun YouTuber, someone who's, you know, articulate and able to communicate the ideas well, but also excitable, and people can see you on all these different platforms. So I'm grateful that you're doing that for the, you know, the females of the world, the women of the world.
Yeah, it means a lot to me, because I didn't see someone like me. I just did it. But I had always been, I was the eldest child in my family, no sons. But I was like very lucky to have, like, my dad was like, you could do whatever. Like, don't ever let somebody tell you can't because of XYZ. And of course, like, societally stuff comes up, but I never really felt like it wasn't something I could access. It just was like, maybe the approach would have to be different. But that's why I'm willing to just like use things the quote unquote wrong way to get the result. Because like, whatever, we're creatives. Like, I'm going to use the crayons any way that I want. If I want to, you know, melt it down and like pour it onto the coloring book, like, it's still coloring it.
Yeah. So last question before we wrap up here. What do you have coming down the line that you're looking most forward to?
Right now, I am in the early planning stages of a Women's Podcasting Month series that, because I've got a mission of just getting more women's voices out there and enabling and encouraging them to be able to do these things, get more visibility. So that's a big thing that I'm focusing on right now. I also have my Video Creator Club, which is like a library of tutorials for beginners to intermediate. That's like how to, you know, start filming, on camera confidence, also some strategy things in there, just to get people feeling confident if they truly mean it, if they want to do it.
There's someone who you made me think of, Simona Costantini. I think you should connect with her. There was also like a moms for like podcast for moms kind of conference too, that I almost thought would be like a perfect fit for you to kind of market that more. So I'll have to find those links and send them to you, because I think that the more you do in that world, the better off people are going to be. So that's good.
Yeah, you guys don't understand like how much Dustin is a connector. Like, he is a connector. So like, I appreciate you for the work that you do, because it's just important. Like, you know, it's a big world, but it's not a big world in any way that you look at it.
That's literally why I went to NAB this year, because last year I had to go for a different reason, but I still went personally for networking. This year I was like, I just want to network. I just want to meet more people. And I was like, have you met Ted? Kind of thing.
Oh,
have you met Marielou?
It was killer, like to like witness that in action, because I'm newer in that sense of this world of the conferences, of like actually knowing. I know what like tools are, but like as knowing individuals, I'm newer kid on the block in that sense. So, you know, having people like you who are just like, oh, I see the connections, right? Because you are a futurist, because you have vision, because you can see why A connects to B connects to C all the way to Z. Yeah. It's just like a beautiful thing. So like, I don't know, you guys keep listening, because Dustin knows what he's doing.
And don't sell yourself short either, because I started off with just tools too. Oh, you like this, you have this problem, you'll like this tool. Oh, you like this kind of service, well, check this one out too. And I think that the same way you connect with tools is how you'll connect with people too. I think that you'll, find that rhythm.
I love that. Thank you.
So if people want to find more about you, where can they find you online, Marielou?
I am Marielou Mandl all over the internet, and there's a presence in most places. YouTube's my primary, and a little bit. Instagram and TikTok are kind of fighting for my attention. One of them will win, but we'll see. You have to, entice me a little bit, but YouTube's my number one. So definitely connect with me there.
I definitely like short form videos on TikTok more than Instagram, but Instagram has so many more features. So it's like,
that's right. So I'm like, who's going to win?
Once again, this is Dustin, PolyInnovator, and Marielou Mandl on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.